Hello, this is Dr. Bob Smith. I wanted to talk to you today about the Teflon Camel. I pronounce it Camal, Camal. The reason I do that is it gives me a place to make a really nice acronym to give you some quick memory tips to remember what we're trying to avoid. Number one, we're looking to get rid of Teflon, obviously. But one of the things we're going to talk about right now is realize that the EPA has only been around since 1970. It's not that long that we've had an Environmental Protection Agency working for us through the federal government to attempt to protect us from some of the things we've realized that we've made that are basically causing problems. And of that, realize that we've only got now in the last year, 2023, we actually came up with these six chemicals that are called forever chemicals that we want to ban from water. One of the lead ones is the one that was made by DuPont called Teflon, which has been around since 1946. It is found to cause problems with making hormones fire inappropriately or copy our hormones and other animal hormones, so it disrupts our normal physiology. And these endocrine disruptors obviously can do pretty strange things and cause growth anomalies in different things because it messes with things like cortisol, progesterone, testosterone, oxytocin. It can also affect other hormones like insulin, things like that. So this can be a part of the cause of sometimes for people having problems with diabetic issues that are not really due to a sugar problem, but more due to environmental pollution problems. So understand the mnemonic. Let's remember real quick concrete things. Teflon has been around for a while, and so we call it the Teflon Camal because the color works. And the forever chemicals, basically the Teflon being one of them, blocks a receptor in our liver that we use to clear out toxins like our own hormones. This particular Teflon will block that receptor by getting complex, and we sometimes need extra nutrients to get that receptor to clear out and complex the Teflon and get it out of our bodies. It's important to realize that. Cadmium is also a metal that's known to be toxic, as is arsenic, as is mercury, and of course, aluminum is a problem. And then last but not least, lead. Interesting about lead, remember, lead was actually being manufactured in Baton Rouge up until 1986. And it had continued to be manufactured until 2021 in Algeria. So we're just now getting around to doing it, but we know that our levels of lead have dropped astronomically since we got it out of the gasoline and the paints and things like that. But aware of the fact that just because it's gone and we're not making more of it, it does take time for it to clear the environment. That's important to realize and also try to avoid new exposure if you can. So when we talk about this stuff, the PCOs, the polychloride problems that we know that cause these issues are damaging to our brain. Specifically, more importantly, mitochondria. And we remember now from what I've said earlier in the mitochondrial videos that mitochondria exist in vast numbers. So when you poison them, it's a big thing. One of the places these PFAs get into place is amazingly popcorn. And it turns out it's the bag that's used in the microwave popcorn that's been treated with this particular compound because it protects against grease getting into the paper bag. Turns out that also leaches out in the environment and becomes a problem for us. So be aware of the fact now that you're looking for popcorn that's made in what says PFOA free packaging. That has been mandated as of February 2024 this year by the government to phase all this out. What you need to do is make sure that you understand buy the stuff that doesn't have it if you're eating it. Cadmium, again, another problem metal that causes issues with the mitochondria. Using melatonin can help. Cadmium can be found in lots of places. One of the most common ones, interestingly enough, is in cigarette smoke. Another good reason to quit smoking. Um, and then other metal workers and things like that working at smelting plants and things like that, those will also expose you as well as welding. Arsenic, amazing again, also is a problem on the mitochondria. It also causes genetic problems, and it's isolated in the liver as one of the bigger sources of a problem. But where do we get it? drinking water. Surprisingly enough, a lot of brown rice syrup have traces of arsenic in it. If you can, make sure you find sources that don't have it. And if you realize it's got brown rice syrup, realize that what they're saying is most of it has some traces of arsenic and it's not good for us. Mercury, same thing. Mercury is not good for us. We know it causes things like Alzheimer's disease, amyloid lateral sclerosis, things like that. And getting away from this stuff as well as learning how to try to clear yourself of what you've been exposed is a good thing. I tell a lot of times people don't get any more new stuff if you can. So learn how to avoid these problems. And most cases, you really don't want to do a serious detox to move this stuff around once it's settled somewhere. You're hoping just to use the complexing systems that'll clear it out. Mercury is found in lots of places, not just fish, but one of the biggest sources right now is it's being found in high fructose corn syrup. It's a trace in a large percentage of the population. Better than a third of high fructose corn syrup products are listed out there with having some of this mercury in it. You need to avoid it because you're not a thermometer. You don't need mercury. Aluminum is also one we know now causes problems. It can actually damage part of the brain through the mitochondria again. Hippocampus being one of the areas that's most reasonably affected, so you want to try to avoid getting lots of it because it causes problems. Aluminum can also be an influencer in inflammation itself. And if you get a lot of food that has aluminum in it, such as some of the baking products that use double action baking powder that have aluminum as a component, if you're eating a lot of those, it can be a problem for upregulating intestinal inflammation and making permeability a problem, gut leakiness more of a problem. So aluminum we want to try to get away from. We need to find out if we got foods that we're eating that are big sources and have they been fixed and do we know that they're there. Lead, of course, is a problem because we know it's been there for a long time. We also know that it causes direct problems on certain parts that get to the mitochondria again. So we want to make sure we get the lead out of our system, try to avoid it. Realize that if you're using glazed ceramics, you want to make sure that you've tested them if you purchased it someplace at a curio shop, just to make sure it's not a lead containing glaze. You can do simple tests with a stick that'll tell you whether it's lead in there or not. Also, make sure that the pipes in your house don't have the lead solder still. And if they do, make sure you get it tested to see if it's leaching. Some places with high water that's real soft, very acidic, will tend to damage some of the pipes and cause some of this lead to come out. Also, jewelry manufacturing can do it. These are common sources of endocrine disruptors. Just remember, they're out there. A lot of phthalates and plastics are used, but they're also used in a lot of products that we use around the house. Make sure you're not putting these on our skin. Dioxin, traces are found of that in the receipts, paper receipts we get. If you can get away from doing that, also do it. If you can go to using paper, not plastic, that's a good story. Because when we look at the mitochondria, and inside the mitochondria, all these metals, lead, magnesium, manganese, cadmium, arsenic, mercury, aluminum, all of those are known to be associated with causing issues inside the mitochondria. It's Dr. Bob Smith. These are things you want to avoid being exposed to. Hope this is helpful.